Hi, folks. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Sorry, I was taking my headphones off because I realised they're not working very effectively. So let's go without. Um, Thank you again for joining us this evening. For those of you who haven't met me before, I'm Laura Piercy. I'm one of the associate directors of the Swap. And a big part of my role is to do with UCAS, is to do with progression, post 18, careers, apprenticeships, all this kind of these kind of areas. Um, this is one in a series of a few webinars that I'm doing over the next few weeks. The next one is about university clearing. So that is more suitable really for year 13s. There will be another one this time of year for you and your young people. But there will be another one as well at the beginning of July looking at apprenticeships and non-university pathways. So if that is also of interest to you, the information on that will be sent out by email. It will also be in the various newsletters over the next few weeks. So just a little bit of housekeeping for this evening. This has been recorded. It will be on our YouTube channel should you want to watch my lovely face chatting through all this again. Um, if you want the slides from this evening, please do send me an email. My email address will be at the end of the presentation, and I'll pop those over to you. And there are quite a few links and things in the slides, so but please don't feel you've got to take photos or write everything down. Finally, there will be some time at the end for questions. Please use the Q&A function. If you hover your mouse over the screen, if you're using a laptop or a desktop, you should see the Q&A come up at the bottom of the screen. Please use that to type in any questions. I will answer them at the end of the presentation. So if you want to wait until the end or close to the end, please do. But if you do put things in partway through, I won't get round to them until the end. On that note as well, if you've got any really specific questions, so questions that are really pertinent to your young person or your particular situation, please do feel free to email me and I can answer that in a more kind of specific and direct way one-to-one. So let's crack on. In a second, there we go. So as I said at the beginning, there are quite a lot of links in this. This, I think, is maybe the most important one in the whole presentation. This is the area to sign up as a parent or as a family member of someone applying for UCAS. This is the link to sign up for their newsletter, basically their email alerts. It's really good because they do send out quite nice, simplified information. And they also send out things like deadlines. So they can you can contact them. So they can contact you, and you can find out things like deadlines really easily. So that is a really good one to start off with. I would recommend that. So before I get going with the full-on presentation itself, just for you, just a reminder that if you don't know yet, so let's just go back. We are running an event called Futures Day on 29th of June for Year 12 students. We run this each year. The way the day works, it's a day off timetable for Year 12s. The first 2 hours of the day, so period 1 and 2, they are with their tutors. And during that time, they will be working on UCAS applications or apprenticeship searches or things like that. For period 3 and 4, they will then all go over to Parliament Hill and William Ellis. And there is a series of talks from different universities, different apprenticeship providers, different people from different sectors. And students will sign up for the talks that they want to go to, things that interest them the most. Please make sure that your young person is in period 3 next Monday and the Monday after, because then they will be able to sign up for the talks, the sessions that they really want to go to. So that is Futures Day on the 29th of June. I will talk about it quite a bit in this presentation because it's when a lot of people really get through a big chunk of their UCAS during that time. And again, before I get into the kind of details of UCAS, I just wanted to show you a real snapshot of what university applications look like at LaSwap. Now, this isn't from all of LaSwap. This is just from Ackland Burley. Because from all of LaSwap, we have, nearly 500 university applicants. It's a huge number. But if we just look at Burley in 2026, so this is our outgoing year 13s, 122 Ackland Burley students applied to 90 universities. in 2026. So it really does cover pretty much any course you can think of at every university, all the way up to St Andrews, all the way down through London. Pretty much everywhere in the country, we have applicants. We have people going there. We have offers from these amazing universities. So, whatever your young person is thinking of doing, or wherever they're thinking of going, we've probably had someone who's done it or done something similar. And we're in a really good position to support students, whatever their university ambitions are. A few key dates for you then. The first date that's coming up, the first important date is the deadline for what we call early entry courses. You just call it early entry for short, because obviously the deadline's earlier. We call it early entry. This is any course at Oxford or Cambridge universities, or any course in medicine, dentistry, or veterinary science. If your young person is applying for one of those, their UCAS deadline is the 15th of October, which might feel like it's quite a long way away, but I swear January was 2 days ago, so it will come around really, really quickly. All other undergraduate courses, so anything else at any other university, the deadline is the 13th of January. So as you can see, there's quite a big difference between those deadlines. It's really important that if your young person is an early entrant, they have to get their application done way earlier than everybody else does. The reason for that is because these courses interview nearly everyone, or they interview. First of all, they have loads of applicants per place. Secondly, they do lots and lots of interviews, and they need that time built in to be able to do that interview cycle. So for early entrants, we will be asking those young people, to get their applications done and submitted by the end of September. So once they come back into year 13, the turnaround time is very, very tight. So heads of years and people like me will be talking to these students in the next couple of weeks about getting personal statements done and so on and so forth, because they'll need to do that over summer. Everyone else, you've got a little bit longer, but please do bear in mind that we have an internal swap deadline for UCAS, and that is Friday, the 4th of December. That is because when we come back after Christmas, after the winter break, there's barely a week of actual working days between us returning and the UCAS deadline hitting. So we don't have time in that week to be turning applications around. We have to get them done and sent out before Christmas. So they are your deadlines. If you're thinking of pursuing an art foundation course, that deadline differs centre by centre, university or college by university or college. Please do check and see when their deadline is. It can be as early as February. It can go all the way into summer, so check. Same for conservatoires. They have different deadlines as well. So if you're applying for a music course or similar at a conservatoire, please check with the university itself and with your teachers. So I'm going to start from the very, very beginning here. I'm aware that a lot of you will know what UCAS is. You'll have been through UCAS yourselves, a lot of you, but some people may not know. Either you've been to uni, or your degree's from a different country, or you've gone through a different process. So to start from the very, very beginning, UCAS stands for the University and Colleges Admissions Service. And UCAS is a centralised service that you use to apply to university. It's a lovely system. And if you've used UCAS, you might not have found it lovely at the time, but I promise you, compared to university applications in other countries, UCAS is great because it brings all your applications under one umbrella. It's one application, one portal, and UCAS do the rest. So nearly everyone who wants to study an undergrad in the UK has to apply through UCAS. Like, they run the system, essentially. There are a very small handful of private universities that operate outside of UCAS. In most cases, they run a very, very different system, including the fact that you can't take a student loan to go to those universities. So they really do operate in a very different place. Nearly everybody else runs through UCAS. UCAS has an application section, which is the online application form, and then it has a track function where you can, unsurprisingly, track your application. And you can manage your university applications as well. You can accept your offers, you can decline offers, you can do various different things through UCAS. And we can also track this at your child's base school. We can track this. So we have a UCAS dashboard where we can see where a student's applied to, we can see the progress of their application, we can see whether they've done their personal statement or not. We press the final button to send that student's application to UCAS. We can then see, if the student gives permission, we can then see when their offers come through and what those offers are and things like that. You can stop us seeing that if you want to, but generally it's a good idea to allow us that, because we can then help you manage your application. UCAS does cost. It costs £34.50 to use UCAS, and you can apply for up to 5 courses through UCAS. If you currently have a bursary or you are eligible for free school meals, whether you take your free school meal or not, it doesn't matter. If you are eligible for free school meals, UCAS is free. So this is a really good time, if you haven't already, to check if you're eligible for free school meals. If you want to do that, if you go onto our website, the LeSwat website, under parents or carers in the drop-down menu, there's a link to Camden free school meals, and you can check there to see if you are eligible. As I say, if you are, and we have proof that you are, so you have to have applied, so we know that you are, then UCAS doesn't cost. For everybody else, unfortunately, it is the best part of £35. But it is, UCAS gives you quite a lot for your £35. It's not just an application portal. As I say, it's always also a tracking service. You also get UCAS clearing for that, which I'll talk about in a bit. You get all the UCAS search functions and all the other stuff. You get UCAS apprenticeships. There's quite a lot on there for your money. So what is it? I've already covered it a little bit. But I'm going to go through the UCAS application process briefly. So the way you start is you obviously have to set up an account with UCAS. Now, nearly every student already has one, because most of us went to UCAS Discovery in March over at the Excel. If you did that, you had to set up a UCAS Hub account to register. So most of our young people already have one. Each school will then have a buzzword. Ackland Burley's is Burley 2027, very imaginatively. And you use that to connect your UCAS Hub account to your base school. Please only connect it to your base school, not to any other school. You then work through UCAS. It's got lots of general administrative sections. We can help you out with it. You put your qualifications in. You choose up to 5 courses and or universities. You put your personal statement in. You pay your money, unless you get free school meals. We then pick up your application at that stage. We enter your predicted grades. We enter your academic reference, and then we send it off to UCAS. At that point, the universities can see it. Each individual university department you apply for can see your application. They can't see the other universities or courses that you've applied for. They can only see that you've applied there. And then they make a decision about whether they're going to make you an offer or not. So that's it at a glance. What do we do then? So the tutor is going to be the main person that you deal with around the UCAS process, because they oversee your application in tutorial time. They can advise on choices, they can help you with your personal statement, and your tutor will compile your reference. So they will pull your reference together from the academic references that your subject teachers write, and they will add that to UCAS. Your subject teachers, they write the actual academic reference themselves. They provide the predicted grades. And if you have an interview or a pre-assessment, or you have to do a portfolio, they can help support with that for courses that need that. Finally, there's us. So your head of year, your director of learning, and your UCAS and or careers coordinator. They're called slightly different things in different schools. We advise on your university choices. We review your overall application. We review your personal statement, and we check your reference. And then ultimately it's us that presses the button to send your application to UCAS. That does vary again slightly school by school. In some schools it's the head of year, some it's the director. At Ackland Burley it's generally me, but different people have responsibility at different stages in the process. So a very rough, I'm not going to go into this in loads of detail. We do with the students, by the way. We have an incredibly detailed UCAS application kind of pack that has loads of screenshots in, and at points really does say, click this, write this, do this. But for your benefit, I'm just going to run an overview of it. These are the things that they need to include. So none of this is a surprise. Personal details, how you contact them, finance and funding. That's an important one. You need to tell UCAS if you're planning to take a student loan. UCAS don't have anything to do with student loans. That's Student Finance England, but it connects up the different bits of your application. So it's just a drop down. You just say yes that you're going to take a student loan. There's then more about you and a diversity section. Now, the thing that sometimes confuses people here is they don't open until you've done the other bits. So you have to do this is where I live and this is my name, and then these extra sections open up. These sections allow the student to tell the university about normal diversity things you'd expect. So their ethnic background, religious background, parent education, parent occupational background, whether they've been in care, so on and so forth. And it also allows them to explain any physical or mental health conditions or caring responsibilities, and if they're eligible for free school meals. We strongly advise that this information is disclosed to UCAS because it can be important. Some universities do use it to make decisions about contextual offers. The main things they use are things like parental education, so whether a student is a first-generation applicant or if you've been eligible for free school meals, they do consider that when they make contextual offers. But UCAS are very, very sort of clear that this cannot affect your application in a negative way. There is a link. I should have put a link to this here. I do apologize. But if you do go on the UCAS website, there is a link that explains their GDPR around all this as well. When we ask students to give us information about extenuating circumstances, we also give them that link so they can read and make sure that they're happy with what they're telling us and what they're telling UCAS. They then have to fill in the education section. This can be one of the fiddly sections because this is the bit where you've got to put all your applications, all your qualifications in. You need to put in all your qualifications that you've already got, which school you got them at, the exam board, and the grade. So in most cases, you'll need to find your GCSE certificates because you'll need the exam board. If you've done a qualification more than once, so if you've done a resit, you need to put in the best and most recent grade. And you also have to enter any qualifications that you're currently doing. So your A-levels, BTECs, T-level, any resits, you put in here as well. You don't put a grade for that, obviously, because you don't have one yet. Tutors will enter your predicted grades. You do have to enter the LeSwap schools separately, which is a bit of a pain rather than as LeSwap, but again, tutors will help with that, and they'll explain all this on Futures Day and in Monday tutorials. So don't worry about remembering all this now. It's just so you know what's going in there. And then the final bits you do are your choices. So these are the courses that I want to apply for. If you are a standard entry student, so a January deadline student, you need to aim to plan your statement over the summer and at least shortlist your choices over the summer. You should be going to all your open days in the next couple of months. There's a big long list in the LeSwap newsletter at the minute. The summer break is a really good time to do this research, to make shortlists, to visit places, to complete any supercurricular you might need to do, all that kind of stuff. If you are early entry, it's all got to be done and ready by the start of September, because as soon as you come back into year 13, we have to check it. And we will need to give you feedback on your personal statement, because the personal statements are really are important for securing interviews if you're an early entry student. So make sure that you are planning to get that done and that you've got time to get that done over the summer. So how do you know? I've said, over the summer, you need to choose your courses. How do you know which courses to choose? So once your application has been sent to UCAS, it is incredibly difficult and sometimes actually impossible to amend it. You can amend things like if you get a new email address or if you move house, but you can't amend things like the courses that you've chosen. So you have to get it right first time. You need to look really closely at the type of university. So whether it is its own campus, whether it's based in the city, where it is, that's one of the most important decisions you'll need to make, whether you're going to live at home, whether you're going to live away, how far away you might want to live. There's a big difference between, going to university in Brighton and going to university in Edinburgh. The course itself, so what you are taught and how it is assessed. Graduate destinations, what people do once they finish at that university. I've put league table rankings there. I'm a bit skeptical about league table rankings because they all use different criteria. And they often include things like research, which isn't hugely important to undergraduates. But there's a couple of links at the end of this presentation. Have a look if you want to. If your school uses Unifrog, so 3 of the schools use Unifrog, 1 school uses something called Grofar. It's very, very similar. I would recommend that you use that to help you narrow down your choices. It's got really good shortlisting capabilities. It pulls everything into a really nice PDF, so you can save it. UCAS also has quite an effective search function now, and you can favorite courses and it will save them in the hub. So there's lots of different places to do this research. The best thing to do by far is to go to some universities. Please, I would really like you to go to some universities. Campuses offer tours, they offer open days, and they also do workshops and tasters. Yes, they do them online, and you can get a bit of a sense online, but please go to the universities. Even if it's a university that you ultimately don't end up going to, it can help you decide what you don't want. And there are loads of universities in London, like tons of them, a bus ride away. So it will cost you nothing to go for an open day and just go and have a look around. We're also running some university trips. We've just done one to Hertfordshire last week. We're doing a business trip to Middlesex. We're doing a trip to Central St Martin's. And so we are doing some as well. But it is really easy if you live in London to go to loads of open days. If you're thinking of a university outside of London, or you can make the trip outside of London, I would really recommend that as well, because universities out of London can be really different and really good to look at. Once you've narrowed down your choices, then you've got your top 15 or your top 10 or however, you must look at the entry requirements and you must be really honest with yourself, because if you're not going to get 3 A-star grades, then you shouldn't be applying to Cambridge, UCL, Warwick, Edinburgh, and Durham if your predicted grades are looking like B's and C's, because you're not going to get offers and you're going to waste a course choice by doing that. You need to think about, as I said, where the university is. Like, it might be exciting, but do you really want to be 350 miles away from home? Maybe you do. If you do, that's great. But otherwise, think about that. Please get a young person's rail card. It's the best value thing that you'll buy in your entire time at university. Have you read the course content? Do you know what you're studying? Do you know how you're being assessed? Do you want to do loads of exams? Do you want to do loads of coursework? Like, check this. Does it work to your strengths? Does it link to what you want to do in the future? I mean, you might not know. If you don't, does it keep your options open? So make sure that you are really being quite rigorous when you are thinking about universities, and quiz your young people, ask them these questions. The final one, and possibly the most important one really, is, do you actually enjoy doing this course? Because 3 years is a really long, 3 years is a long time anyway. It's a really long time when you're 18. And you are going to be doing, geography or international relations or maths or whatever for 3 years. So make sure that you pick something that you actually like. Once you've answered those questions, you need to choose 5 courses. So 2 of them should be what we call aspirational, 2 of them should be safe, and 1 should be a backup. You can pick more than 1 course at the same university if you really like it and you really want to go there. So, for example, you could apply for history at York and English at York if you really wanted to go to York. Please don't choose 5 courses that need 3 A stars. As I said, please don't choose 5 courses that need 3 Ds, because you should have a range of courses. And sometimes you'll find that the criteria is listed as points rather than grades. So sometimes it will say we want D star D in your BTEC diploma, or we want 2 Bs at A level. But sometimes it will say we want 120 points or 112 points. If you just Google UCAS tariff calculator, you can work out how many points your qualifications are worth, how much the grades are worth. So each grade at I'm sorry, I've only put BTEC and A level on here. I haven't put T level on here. T level is similar to the BTEC, but slightly higher actually. Because it's got fewer grades. Each one, there's a bigger gap between them. But you can search T level on the tariff calculator as well. But yeah, each grade is worth a fixed number of UCAS points. An A star there is 56, down to an E at 16. Sometimes I'll list the grades, sometimes I'll list the points. what can be a little bit confusing is you can get UCAS points from all over the place. So you can get UCAS points from high-level music grades, you can get UCAS points from all kinds of stuff. But generally, the universities are only interested in UCAS points that come from your full-time level 3 education. So they will often say you need to get 120 points from 3 A levels or something like that. Partly because it stops people doing sort of 10 A levels and getting an E in all of them and adding them all together. But it's also so you're not using UCAS points from different qualifications that are less relevant. So do check where the UCAS points need to come from. To give you an idea of what that might look like, if you're predicted 3Bs at A level, then your 2 aspirational courses you might have one at AAB, like really go for it, one at ABB. You might have 2 safe courses at 3Bs, and then a backup course around the BBC, BCC level. But also, please do check other criteria for the course. So sometimes it will say, we want ABB and your A must be in a science subject. Or we want AAB, but one of your A's must be in art, something like that. Sometimes it will say you've got to have a particular A level or a particular BTEC. Sometimes it will say you have to have specific grades at GCSE. So it will say, you need a distinction at BTEC plus 1 A level plus a 5 in maths at GCSE. If you don't have things like that, like the GCSE requirements, for example, please don't apply for it because they're not going to take you. They won't make allowances around things like that. So please check carefully. Sometimes you will need to do an admissions test. I'll talk about this more in a minute, but most courses at Oxbridge have an admissions test of some sort. Medicine, you have to sit the UCAS, say for dentistry. So a lot of law courses need you to sit the LNAT. An increasing number of science courses need you to sit something called an ESAT now, Engineering and Science Admissions Test. These have to be booked individually by students through a test centre. So please do make sure that you are checking the entry criteria really carefully. For those, actually, registration's open now. Booking opens in July for most of them. I think the UCAT booking might open in June, but do just check. Sometimes you might need to go to an interview. Again, we've already said like Oxbridge medicine, but a lot of allied health courses, so things like radiography, midwifery, or vocational courses like education will interview. So be prepared for that. If you're applying for a performing arts style course, you might need to do an audition. And if you're applying for an art-based course, you will often have to submit a portfolio. So please do be prepared for those things and check. If you are a mixed pathway student, so you're doing a BTEC diploma and you're doing an A level, you're predicted a DM and a C, then this might be what you're sort of looking at. So that's 112 points. So you might be looking at 2 aspirational courses around 120-ish, maybe up to 128, 2 safe on 112, and then a backup course. And the other things that I've said about checking the criteria also apply to you. They apply to everyone. So I've just said some of this, but we've got some interviews, some auditions, some portfolios, and some assessments. Some of these assessments do have a cost. So things like the LNAT, the UCAT, both cost, for example. Some have exceptions if you are a bursary student or a free school meal student, so do check that. If you are auditioning for performing arts or music, you sometimes have to pay for your audition slot. There are always some free slots and cheaper slots, but they go quite quickly. So that's a good reason to get your application done quite quickly if you're a performing arts student. Again, there are some exceptions to that. Check carefully. I would really say, please do ask if you need help with this, because your head of year won't know that you're applying for a course that needs an audition or that needs an assessment, because we can't see that on your UCAS dashboard, and we can't check every single course. We can't check 5 courses for every student who is in our base school. So it is your responsibility as the applicant to check this, but please do come to us if you're not sure how to book, if you don't know what the process is, if you get stuck at all, come and ask. Please do. Please come and ask. Uh, this is just a bit of information, really, just because it can be a little bit confusing. When you go to choose your course, you'll sometimes put in, University of uh, Edinburgh, and then you choose mathematics, and then you get like 8 different maths degrees, and you're like, what even is what is this? Um, Again, each course has a course code, so do check that you're applying for the right one, because some are will be a bachelor's, an undergraduate degree. Some will be a master with an integrated master's. If it has an M at the beginning, it generally takes at least 4 years. Um, some, like psychology, can be either a BA or a BSc, and sometimes they're both offered at the same university. So again, check that it is the right one. We have a lot of students who apply for foundation years. Foundation years can be a really good way to access the course or university that you want to go to. Foundation year courses with integrated foundation years have an extra year. It's a 3-year undergrad degree, a standard BA or BSc, but it's got a kind of year zero attached to the front of it. And so it means that it takes you 4 years instead of 3, and that means that the entry requirements are lower. Because they teach you the foundations, hence the name, in that first year. They can be really good if you don't meet the standard entry requirements for a course that you really want to do, or you don't meet the standard entry requirements for a university you really want to go to. A foundation year can be a great way to access that. It can also be as well if you've decided, if you sort of changed your mind, so you've done a BTEC in something, or you've done most of your A levels in something that you now kind of want to do something else. Sometimes you can do a degree with an integrated foundation year and take a kind of sidestep into a different area of education. So if you have, you might not have done maths or you or economics, but you might be able to do a business degree with a foundation year, something like that. The degree you get at the end is identical to a standard degree. It doesn't say anywhere you did a foundation year. It's not a foundation degree. A foundation degree is something very different. This is a degree with an integrated foundation year. Nice and confusing, I know. So, like I say, for most of the time, it is a really good option. The downside, of course, is that you've got to pay for that extra year. So you do have to pay fees for that extra. You get a student loan for it, but you have to pay fees and you have to pay accommodation and all that kind of business for an extra year. So it is an extra cost in most cases. There are a few exceptions, including the foundation years at Oxford and Cambridge. They are free because they have so much funding. So there's no fees and nothing to pay for in those foundation years. The downside to that is there are barely any places, but they are worth looking at. But most foundation years, it's just an extra year of your degree, so therefore extra cost. I've already mentioned early entry a little bit, so we know what early entry is. If you are an early entry student, or you're the parent or family member of an early entry student, please get them to tell their head of year now that they are an early entry student. Please don't surprise me in September, because I won't be very happy. We need to know, because we need to know what they're applying for. We need to be able to send them some example statements, to talk to them about personal statements, to talk to them about their application. We also just need to know how many early entrants we've got, so we know how to manage our time in September and early October. So please do tell us, and tell us now. So I've mentioned them a few times. This is not a presentation about personal statements. Again, for our students through the Monday tutorial sessions, we have got an incredibly comprehensive personal statement guide, personal statement sessions taught by tutors, and we've also got loads of examples kind of kicking around. So there's plenty of support with them. But this is just an overview now for you, because this is the bit of the UCAS for application that takes the longest by far. Most people have sort of smashed through most of it by the end of this term, really, and then spend the next 4 months faffing around with a personal statement. It really can take a long time. So just a little bit of information. It is your opportunity to prove to the university you're the best student for the course. Not all universities consider personal statements, but most do in some capacity or another. And because most universities and most courses don't interview, this really is the kind of the way that you show that you are better than someone else, especially when nearly everyone applying for the course is going to have similar predicted grades. Your personal statement is really a way to stand out. It is an academic document, so it should be at least 85% about you as an academic. So your skills in the subjects of the course that you want to do, evidence of that, and what we call super curricular activities. So this is showing that you don't just go to your politics lesson and do politics for a couple of hours a week. You are actually interested in this outside of the subject. You've listened to podcasts, you've read a book. Your personal statement is the place to show that. It also shows that you're literate, you can communicate effectively. You can include work experience and extracurricular, but it needs to be relevant. So don't tell me about, sort of work experience you've done in year 10. It doesn't matter by this stage, but you might be doing work experience now that you've got through school or you've got on your own that is really relevant. And as I've already said, we do give loads of support with personal statements, absolutely loads. You may have seen last year personal statements changed, only a little bit, and not really in a way that's sort of that matters that much. So before 2026, the personal statement was one continual piece of text, like just an essay, basically, of 4,000 characters. And the reason I'm just telling you about this is if you look up example personal statements online, you might see these old style ones, and it can be a little bit confusing if you're used to the new style ones. The new style one is the same length. It's still 4,000 characters, but it's split now between 3 subheadings. So you're basically answering 3 questions. Why do you want to study this course? How have your qualifications helped you to prepare for it? And what else have you done to prepare? So for most people, question 1 and 2 are the longest. Question 3 is the shorter, is a little bit shorter. But ultimately, you're writing the same thing that people have been writing for years. At the Swap, we always split our personal statement guidance into 3 sections, so it didn't really change very much. But this is really just so you know that if you go looking for example personal statements and they're all one big long block of text, that's why. It's because that's what they were like a couple of years ago. A note then on use of AI in personal statements, which has dramatically increased in the last couple of years, as will not surprise you. UCAS makes use of its own similarity checkers that are quite sophisticated. Statements written using generative AI are usually quite obvious. We've also now seen quite a lot of them, and we know what we're looking for. If we strongly suspect that you have composed your statement using generative AI, we will ask you to rewrite it. That is for a couple of reasons. Firstly, because we want you to have a successful outcome. We want you to get an offer. And secondly, because the actual process of writing the statement is worthwhile and important. The actual process of sitting and thinking, why do I want to study this course? Or what have I personally done that makes me suitable for this course? That is really important to help you, to firm that up in your mind. Throwing it into ChatGPT doesn't do that for you. And it does generate very, very similar statements that have no specific or little specific content. This is a rejection that we've had a few times now in the last couple of years. And in most cases, this is where we have flagged to a student that we believe their personal statement was used generative AI, and that student has then not been made an offer. So please do be aware that it is something that we look for. And I know this sounds like a really teachery thing to say, but you're only hurting yourself. You're only doing yourself out of this ultimately. The final section then of the UCAS forms, the bit that you don't do, we do. This is the reference. We use subject-specific references written by each teacher or subject area, and then we collate them together to form your reference. We also include a section of general information about the school that everyone gets the same thing, just a series of bullet points about the swap. And we also ask students if there are any extenuating circumstances that they would like us to include. I'll talk about extenuating sorry. The majority of the reference, like the vast majority of it, is academic and subject focused, just like the personal statement, because universities are by far the most interested in your academic achievements. Where relevant, tutors will include information about things like work experience. That is usually most relevant where someone is applying for a vocational course, so something like medicine or education or radiography. They want to see work experience, so we will include work experience. You can request to see your reference if you want, once it's done. As part of the reference, we are encouraged to tell UCAS about any extenuating circumstances. These are specific to the student. So these aren't things, so we're not talking about things like COVID now. We are talking about things that have affected you personally, that have disrupted your education. So it could be a physical or mental health challenge. It could be being a young carer. It could be unstable housing. It could be bereavement. We strongly encourage you to let us know. Oh, I did put the GDPR link in. Sorry, I just put it in later. So this is what I was talking about earlier. So extenuating circumstances of any kind are to allow the university to support the student. It can't be used to negatively affect your application. It can only support it. It's protected by GDPR. And as I said, all the information is there. We don't have very much space in the extenuating circumstances box. It's really quite small. So in most cases, we're not going to write essays. We're not going to go into loads of detail, but we may say something like, this student suffered bereavement of a close family member during year 12. We are not going to give more information than we need to, but it can help. If you are not sure if you want to disclose any information, or you want to talk about it more, you want to clarify it, speak to your tutor or speak to your head of year, and we can help you decide whether it's something you want to tell us or not. It is in your control. We won't disclose anything without letting you know. And the final bit then of the reference is the predicted grades. So predicted UCAS grades. These are done by teachers. So I don't do this. Your head of year, your director of learning, we don't write your predicted grades. They're written by your subject teachers because they know you as an academic. They are based on, it's a holistic grade. So we take lots of bits of information and we bring it together. And it's based on your work in year 12, your grades and your secure assessments, your year 12 secure assessments, which you've just done, your year 13 mock grades, and we also factor in a kind of potential to improve. So how much have you improved so far through year 12? What other modules have you still got to do in year 13? Might also include any NEA, if you've done any NEA so far. But they are also aspirational. So they are meant to be encouraging. They're meant to be aspirational. They are meant to be a little bit of a target grade, but they are realistic. We will not fabricate predicted grades. And if you have been working steadily at C and D grades throughout year 12, we are not going to put an A star as your UCAS predicted grade, because ultimately you're not going to get it. And then if you are made an offer based on a grade, then you don't get that grade, the university won't accept you. So we have to find this line between being aspirational. This is your predicted grade. On a great day, this is what you should get in this subject. Predicted grades issued in July are provisional. We might change them because you've still got year 13 mocks to come. You've still got a whole half term of work in year 13. The exception to this, of course, is if you're an early entrant, because we have to have your references written and done pretty much at the beginning of year 13. You don't have time in year 13 to be, we don't have time to do predicted grades again. So if you're an early entrant, obviously your predicted grade has to be fixed quicker. But hopefully if you're an early entrant, then generally courses that are early entry require very high predicted grades. So in most cases, you're not going to be waiting on those. You're already going to know if you've got the grades to apply for those courses. As a sixth form team, so your tutor, your head of year, your directors, we won't and can't change predicted grades set by subject teachers. I am not a maths teacher. I'm about as far from a maths teacher as I could possibly be. I cannot go fiddling around with anybody's maths predicted grades. I don't know what I'm doing. We do have a predicted grades policy on our website. I would encourage you to read it, and be aware of these things as predicted grades start coming out. Finally, then, I'm going to talk, well, not quite finally, but nearly finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about offers. So later down the line, how do universities make offers? So you've done your UCAS application, you've chosen your courses, you've written your personal statement. It's amazing, by the way. You've sent it off. The uni then need to decide if they're going to make you an offer. So they do this in a few ways. They look at your predicted grades, obviously. That's usually the most important thing. They look at your personal statement. Sometimes they do the assessment, which I've already mentioned. Sometimes they interview you. They can vary course by course in the same university. So a different course in the same uni can have wildly different predicted grades. Popular courses tend to have higher entry requirements because they can a lot of the time. Expect to be interviewed for Oxbridge, medicine, dentistry, veterinary, things like nursing. As we've already said, expect to do auditions or portfolios, but most of the courses don't interview. And I've already talked a little bit about pre-assessments and that you need to register yourselves and you need to check. As soon as your offer is sent, as soon as that button is pressed and it goes off through UCAS, you can start to get offers right away. Now, you don't always, because all universities the reason for that January deadline is it's what's called the equal consideration deadline. So any application that's made before that deadline has to be considered equally by the university. So some unis start making offers straight away. Some of them wait until the January deadline, so the 13th, and then they start doing their offers. That tends to be what very popular universities do. So places like UCL, King's, Durham, Warwick, Edinburgh, and so on tend to wait until after the January deadline and then look at everything together to make sure that it's equal. So if you're applying to those kind of universities, don't be worried if you don't get an offer for ages. They do just take ages. Most offers are made by the end of March, and you then have a little while, a couple of months, to decide if you're going to accept the offer or you're going to decline it. There are a couple of different types of offers. Nearly all of them are conditional. So that will be a place is reserved for you as long as you meet the conditions. The conditions are usually 3 Bs, 120 UCAS points, but it can also be things like resitting your GCSE maths. It can be things like a successful DBS check if you're applying for physiotherapy, say. So there are sometimes different conditions there. And occasionally you will get an unconditional offer. This is a place regardless of your grade outcome. Unconditional offers are to be treated with a little bit of skepticism. Don't be sort of pushed into accepting one if it's not something that you really want, but it can be very encouraging to get an unconditional offer. You can also get an invitation to an interview, a request for a portfolio. You can occasionally get an offer for an alternative course. So they might say, well, you don't quite have your predicted grades aren't quite what we need for this course. However, what about this one instead? Or sometimes the course might not be running. So do check if that is the case. Once all your offers are in, you could obviously have up to 5, depending on how many things you've applied for. You then need to pick 2 out of those 5, a firm and an insurance. The firm is where you definitely want to go, and your insurance is your backup. So your insurance should be lower. Your backup one should never have higher entry requirements than your firm one, so it doesn't make sense. You can't swap around between the two, so you have to be certain. Once you've got them locked in, they are locked in. As I've already said, look at unconditional offers very carefully, and if you choose an unconditional offer, you're not going to get an insurance choice because it's unconditional. You're not going to not get in because it's unconditional, so there's no backup. Can be the other downside. If you don't get any offers, or if you change your mind and you decide you don't want any of your offers, you can decline them all. And then you can use something called the UCAS Extra service to make another choice. If you accept your offers, but then on results day, level 3 results day in August, if you don't get into either your firm or your insurance, then you will be automatically entered into clearing. You can also put yourself into clearing if you want to, if you change your mind, or sometimes if you do better than you expected, you can find another course in clearing. And clearing opens in July. So you can, as I say, you can use it at any point to turn down anything that you've been offered and start again if you want to. Never do that on your own. Please tell us if you're going to do that. Just one slide on paying for university. So I don't want to get into the weeds of student finance in this webinar. Just to note that we know the tuition fees, loans are really daunting, but please don't be too worried about them. There isn't very much to pay in advance. Loans are taken out of your postgraduate wages via PAYE, and the amount that you pay back per month is relatively small. So it's 9% of your pre-tax earnings over £25,000 a year. Now, what that means, what that looks like in reality, is if you come out of uni and you start earning 30 grand, and that's about the average for a graduate, you'll pay about £40 a month off your student loan. It's not a large amount of money. So don't think that you're going to come out of uni and then suddenly be paying £1,000 a month off your student loan. If you are, you're earning a lot of money. So well done. The deadline for student finance is at the end of May, so it'll be at the end of May next year. You can apply before you get your offers, but it is best to wait if you can. I do a webinar on this next year where I'll talk about it in detail, so please do join me then. Several things that you can do to help out at this stage. Please help your child to be realistic while be encouraging and realistic. Get them to open days if you can, as many as you can. Read personal statements. If you're not confident reading a personal statement, send them to us. We will read it. Help them with Unifrog and GrowFar. Look at shortlists that they've made. Discuss things with them. Discuss courses. Discuss career ideas. Help them with research if you can, if you're confident to. Again, if not, send them back to us. Really important to make sure that they are coming to tutorial sessions, to Futures Day. This is all we're doing in this now for the next few months. And stick the deadlines on your fridge or on the back of your door or somewhere else noticeable so you don't miss them. Various useful links here. I'm not going to click on them and show them to you, but there's the link, obviously just to UCAS, to Unifrog, league table rankings that I promised there, a guide to clearing, the money saving expert guide. There's a load of really good stuff in there on finance. That's obviously Martin Lewis. His website isn't particularly attractive, but it is really full of lots and lots of information. And the one at the bottom, Uni Taster Days, is a really good site to find masterclasses, workshops, open days, all kinds of different stuff. So my webinar in a couple of weeks is going to touch on this loads more, but just as a super quick fire reminder that even though this is about UCAS, you don't have to actually go to university. It's not compulsory. There are other things that you can do. You can go to college and do another FE course. You can do an apprenticeship. You can work. And one thing increasingly popular is you can defer and you can take a gap year. We have a really big cohort of students who go and do art foundation courses, are really successful on them. Our art departments are really successful at getting students onto them. They're excellent prep for uni if they then decide to go. And if you do an art foundation, if you're under 19 when you start it, it's free. So that can be another benefit. We've had students go and do other level 3 courses elsewhere. So prepare for specific university courses or to increase their UCAS points. Sometimes students do that. A very quick note on apprenticeships, full-time combination of work and study. They come in various different levels. Our young people will be looking at either higher and advanced, which is where most apprenticeships are. And there are also a smaller number of degree level apprenticeships. These are the ones that you hear about a lot because they include an undergraduate degree. So you're earning and you're getting your degree at the same time. They are available in a range of sectors. Most common ones are things like engineering, business management, marketing, accountancy, and more traditional sectors like construction, hair and beauty, early years education, things like that. But they are very concentrated in some sectors. There are very few apprenticeships in arts and media, for example. But they are a good option for students who are work ready and know what they want to do. The government apprenticeship hub is a good place to start. We will have apprenticeship stuff on Futures Day, and as I say, another webinar in a few weeks where I'll talk about this a lot more. Deferred applications to university, as I said, increasingly common. If you want to go or you think you want to go, but you don't want to go right now, then you can put your application in now, but for 2028 instead of 2027. So you fill in, the whole process is the same, it goes through UCAS as normal, but then you're made an offer for 2028 start. If you change your mind during that gap year, so if you decide that you want to do something else, or you don't want to go to uni at all, or you're going to stay in, the Bahamas, like feeding turtles or whatever you're doing on your gap year, then you can ring up the uni and say that you don't want to go there, you don't want to take up your place, and that's completely fine. It's not a contract of any kind. You can't defer for every course. You can't always defer. There's some courses at Oxbridge that don't want you to defer. Some courses say that you lose too much knowledge in the gap year and they don't let you defer. So check. And some courses will let you apply now and then defer later in the year. So they'll let you apply now for 2027, but ring them up, say April next year, and say, oh, actually, I want to defer this. Some will let you, but they don't have to. So bear in mind that when you're putting in your application. You can also, if you want to take a gap year and you don't want to apply now, so for example, if you've no idea what you want to do and you would feel that you're doing this you'd be putting an application just for the sake of it, then you can take a gap year and you can choose to do your UCAS during your gap year. We will still make you do UCAS now. So you've been through the process of it and you know how to do it and how to do your personal statement and all that. We just tell you not to send it. But you can then send it during what we call year 14. So once you've left us, you can still come back to us. We will still give you some help. In that usually we'll still read over things like personal statements. We'll definitely still write you a reference. We'll support you where we can, but obviously it's not as comprehensive. We do have some guidelines for ex-student applicants. So things like by the point you need to request your reference by and things like that. And again, that is all on our website. So if you think that might apply to you, you might not know now. But if you think that might apply to you next year, do have a look. So I put this slide in because I think it's the question that I get asked the most often. And I just wanted to cover just a couple of things about this. Is university still worth it? Because we are really in an era of bashing universities. Not us, we're not bashing universities, but there's a lot of noise and understandably a lot of anxiety. And I 100% know where it's coming from. But I just want to reassure you that in most cases, yes, it is worth it for most people in most circumstances. And please try to ignore the doom and gloom where possible. Doom and gloom is newsworthy. People enjoying things and getting on with their lives isn't. Most employers are looking for graduates. Graduates still earn considerably more over their lifetimes than non-graduates because the ceiling on graduate wages is generally much higher than on non-graduate wages. And there's a nice little link to the government statistics there if you want to poke at that. Apprenticeships are great. And for some students, they are a brilliant alternative to university, but they are not for everyone. And as I've already said, they are not in every sector. So if you know you want to be an accountant, fill your boots and you'll probably be able to find a really good apprenticeship. But if you don't know what you want to do, or you want to do something in a sector that doesn't have very many apprenticeships, or where they're extremely competitive, then you can find that you spend all year doing applications and don't get any. KCL, King's College London, did a really good big survey last year where they looked at public perceptions of higher education and about graduate perceptions and about people's experiences. And they found that only 8% of graduates regretted going to university. The public estimated that 40% would regret going to university. It's actually only 8%. Most people really value what they get out of their university education. And I know the really terrifying one, but student loan repayments are affordable for most people. A lot of the stuff that you've seen in the last year about the sort of horror stories about interest rates have referred to what are called Plan 2 loans, people who went to university between 2012 and I think 2021. And they have been you know, done over in a lot of ways by the rules around interest on their loan, but that will not affect you. You will be on plan 5 and you won't have that same situation. Yes, you will still pay interest on your student loan, but you won't be in that fluctuating interest situation that people on those old plan 2 loans are. So just a little bit of a note of like sense, I think, around some of the unpleasantries that we've seen. So there we are. That's me, Laura Piercy. That's my email address if you want to contact me about anything. They are your email addresses for your heads of year. They are also on our website under the staff section. There is a contact us section on the SWAT website as well. Please don't use the contact form if you've got our email addresses. Like, get in touch with the person that you want. But they are your people, should you want to contact anyone. So I'm going to leave that up for a minute, and then I'm going to have a look at the Q&A. I will answer any questions that are in there. If you've got any questions that I haven't yet answered, please do stick them in the Q&A now. I'll come to them in a minute. Or, as I said, please feel free to get in touch with me directly. But if you are happy with everything that I've talked about, then please feel free to go and enjoy your evening. The sun has just come out after the torrential June-November downpours, so maybe there's a little bit of sunshine to enjoy. I don't want to keep you from that. But if you do want to stay for the Q&A, please do. Okay, I'll start to work through some of the questions. So, will this presentation be sent out? If you want the slides, please email me. The recording will be on our YouTube channel. The link to the YouTube channel is on the SWAT website under webinars. Deadline for Art Foundation courses. The internal SWAT deadline doesn't apply. I say it doesn't apply to Art Foundation courses. We would like students to have their personal statements written by then, even though the deadline for the Art Foundation courses might be after the UCAS point, because they're also working on their portfolios. It's good to have the personal statement done and out of the way so they can put the time into their portfolios. But there would be a little bit of flexibility because that 13th of January deadline doesn't apply to Art Foundation courses. They're different. If a student is not sure what courses they want to do, can they submit 2 different statements for different courses? No, they can't. That is a really good question. You have up to 5 course choices, but you can only submit 1 personal statement, and it has to work for all of them. So that means you could apply for sociology and criminology. You can't apply for dance and physics because you're not going to be able to make that statement fit. So you need to choose the course area, a course family at least, before you do the personal statement. And you have got to try and make it fit. There are some courses that are a little bit kind of unusual or specific to one university. In that case, you're going to be applying for other courses that are similar to that. That university will know where they do a really specialist course. So if the statement isn't perfectly tailored to the course, they know why, but the courses, as I say, should still be very similar. If you're applying for early entry, do you have to pick all 5 unis, or can you pick the early one and then have up until January to finalize the others? Great question. You are absolutely right. Yes. So that 15th of October deadline only applies to your early entry course. You can just put in your early entry course or courses if you're applying for medicine. And then you can add the others between October and January. You can take your time to pick the others. Thank you. Great question. Is there a parent login for UCAS? There is not, I'm afraid. UCAS doesn't have a kind of it has parent sections and information for parents, but you as a parent can't log into your child's UCAS account. You don't have access. Is it still true you can only apply to Oxford or Cambridge, not both? Yes, that is absolutely true. You can only apply for one course at Oxford or Cambridge. So if you are an Oxbridge applicant, you have to choose the uni and then your one course. If you're applying for medicine, dentistry, or veterinary, you can apply for four courses in that area. So four medicine degrees, for example, but your fifth has to be in something else. If your child applies with school, doesn't get their grades, takes a gap year and reapplies, would we help them with their second application? Yes, we would. Yeah, just get in touch with us, and we will absolutely help. So providing a reference and things like that. Can my child meet with a guidance counsellor? Yes, there is a different UCAS and careers advisor in each base school. If you get in touch with the head of year, they will be able to point you in the right direction. Hilary Tate at LSU as well also offers one-to-one bookable sessions for students in any school in the swap, and she is absolutely brilliant. That all students have been given her information. The information is in the Pastel Swap newsletters as well, which are again on the website. So if you're not sure about that, just have a click on some of those, and you'll be able to find Hilary's little booking QR code on there. Are you able to help with students who want to attend universities abroad? Yes, the best person to get in touch with in that case is me, and I will help out as much as I can. I'm not a kind of world-class expert, but I've supported quite a few international applications, so please do get in touch with me. When are the year 13 mocks? I'm going to embarrass myself now by not quite knowing. They are, I believe, it's either the last week of September or the first week of October. I'm really sorry, I don't know off the top of my head, but it is then. Sorry about that. So just a specific question about a student doing a foundation course, an art foundation course, UAL, I'm assuming, foundation course. And then, so you do a year after that. In that case, if you're doing a foundation course, so something like an art foundation, don't apply now. You will apply during your foundation year with support from whoever is tutoring you then, because they will need to write your reference. And they will need to give you your predicted grade for your foundation course. So there's no harm in you could do it now. You can kind of go through UCAS, draft your personal statement, think about what you want to go to, but ultimately, no, you shouldn't be applying for UCAS in this cycle in most cases if you're doing a foundation course. We have had a couple of people who have done, but because they knew exactly what they wanted to do at uni. Get in touch with me if you're at all unsure about that, and we can talk about it in a bit more detail. Okay, I think that is everything. I think I've answered everything. Fantastic. So if we don't have anything else, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for coming. And as I say, if you want the slides, get in touch. If you want to watch me do this again, it will be on YouTube. And have a great evening. Thank you.